ShockCast episode 199, one episode away from the boombastic 200th episode, which I have yet to work out, which should be amazing though. I'm that confident in my ability to put together something at the dead last second, so just you wait. But today, episode 199, is a treat because it is the final ShockCast of the year of our Lord 2014, and joining me, the person I ended last year with on the podcast with, Mr. Tony Polanco from the Coalition. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, hello people, how you doing? Happy Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. All that.
Like a superhero, I shined the Tony symbol, and he just showed up to help me in my time of need. It was a giant plantain from his native people of the Dominican Republic, and
yes.
He saw, and he put on his hat, his finest hat, and said, "I'm going to ShockCast." Because I know Tony's thinking you're taking a bit of a writing break for mini vacay.
Yeah, pretty much. By the way, just so that people know, the last time I was on ShockCast, like, you literally got me on as I was finishing up Shadow of Mordor, and tonight you got me as I was finishing up Dragon Age. So, like, okay, podcast, sure, why not?
For the second time.
For the second time.
Oh, don't be like, oh, no. I'm like, man, Tony's been playing this game 400 hours. Like, yeah, Tony has a problem.
Hey, 400 is not, that's an exaggeration. 220, let's get it right.
Oh, yeah, because that's just as healthy. And as always, the loyal, lovable staff writer, Ryan Meitzler. How are you, buddy?
Wow, you had nothing negative to say about me in that entire intro. That's I can't. 2015. Is this what 2015 is going to be like for us, George?
No, dude, he made you sound like a sidekick. That sounds pretty bad.
I don't know. It was like, and you caught me as you caught Tony trying to finish Dragon Age. You caught me trying to finish Alien Isolation. So you got me on something. So there we go. So
yeah. No negativity because it's too late for me to think of any like good insults. So I was just like, oh man, he's a cool guy, I guess. All right, great. But yeah, it's the final. We made it another year in games. It was eventful. It was terrifying. It was depressing. It was exciting. All boiled. It was the consoles went at it like that, and a Wii U kind of snuck up on us and said, "Hey, look, we got games too," and they do. It's super weird. Ryan, let's start with new releases because games are still coming out. I'm dying to see what's actually being released. So Ryan, do your thing.
So there are actual games that are coming out. Not a big list and not like a lot of new stuff, but mostly like re-releases of older stuff. But for I'm gonna go with the end of December, beginning of January stuff. So we've got Gum Tricks on iPad, Beast Busters featuring KOF on Android. I don't even know what KOF is, but we'll just
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought it might be, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic on Android, Resogun for PS3 and I guess just PS3.
Vita, PlayStation Vita.
Oh, and Vita too as well. Yeah. Let's see, Trine, Enchanted Edition for PS4, Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse Episode 2 for PS Vita, Field Runners 2 for PS Vita, Shakespeare's for PS3. I thought I read that title last week because it sounded familiar. But anyway, it has an awesome name. Switch Galaxy Ultra for PS4 and PS Vita, Battle High 2A Plus for Ouya on PC. I don't even know what that title is. So, F, A Fairy Tale of the Two for PC, the weird Japanese game of the week that I can't pronounce. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for 3DS eShop, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse for Wii U, Duck Hunt on Wii U, Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2 for Wii U, and Mario Party Advance for Wii U. And then for the week of December 28th to January 4th, we've got Bionic Commando Elite Forces on 3DS eShop, and Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire for Wii U. So pretty much all just re-releases of stuff on, Virtual Console and stuff. But yeah, so there's still, if you haven't spent all your money or needed some more gifts, you can go and get some more stuff. So
I'm gonna go with Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic on the Android. I don't own an Android device, but it's about time I replay that game. And I'm sure I have that on the iPad. I'm one of those people where if there's a game I like and they're selling a version of it, I would always buy it even if I don't actually play it. So Star Wars is one of those games that if I love that game so much, I'm just gonna give you money. I'm not even gonna play the game, but it's just like, here you go. I do that a lot on Steam sales too. If I respect the developer, I'm like, throw some coin your way. How about you, Tony? What are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Duck Hunt because I want to kill that dog.
You don't kill the dog.
I want to though. I've always wanted to kill him. Ever since I was a little kid, I'm like, shoot that stupid dog. I hate the damn dog.
Yeah, harming animals is like the first leg of being a serial killer. Then there's setting fires, and then there's wetting the bed.
Oh, I
So
got a story for you because I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 5, right? I saw a dog walking around. I'm like, hey, there's a dog. Let me follow the dog. So I follow the dog, and he just stops at a wall and just stares at him. Like, that's all you're going to do? So I shoot the dog. I'm like, okay, I'm staring at him. He gets up. I'm like, is this an immortal dog? I keep shooting him, then he's dead. So yeah, I'm in the video game world, I'm one of those people.
a psychopath. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
And now we know that Tony is a dog killer who just ruthlessly guns down puppies. And
Hey, listen, that dog should have went somewhere interesting than a wall. He wasted my time.
You are one of those weird people that plays an open world game and just kind of follows the old ladies around, or it's like, what's this person up to? And you follow, and it's like, no, Tony, they're not part of. Just move on with your life. I don't know why you're following a stray dog. In fact, I'm actually kind of terrified of you right now.
Yeah, and by the way, it always ends with me following the person and me killing him. That's what usually happens. I can't do that in real life, so I'll do it in a video game.
So he says. Ryan, what'd you go with?
I'm gonna go with Resogun. I actually just got it on PS4 a little while, like a couple weeks ago, and so it reminds me I need to play that. So yeah, I'll go with Resogun.
That's a good game.
Yeah, I thought it has a little people you have to save. Like, that's kind of cute. And trying to divert back to the main topic after Tony just completely creeped me out for the remainder of the year.
Only 5 more days.
Guys, we've made it through another year. And so many things have happened. So many video game stories and drama. It was fantastic, and it was horrible, and it was all kind of cool. But I wanted to bring everyone here. Well, everyone, just me and Tony and Ryan.
I thought you were gonna stop at me and Tony, and that was it. Just ignore me. So
That's it. Nobody else matters, man.
Nope.
Yeah.
No one matters. And just talk about some of our favorite games throughout the year that we played, or at least games that kind of stood out and like ate a lot of our time. Because I use that as a I told everyone to kind of pick your top 5 games, and for me, I picked games that I just kind of like spent a lot of time in. Because to me, that's always a good staple of a game. Of me enjoying a game is a game I always go back to, or
yeah.
I mean, you know, I very rarely play something so long that I hate.
Hearthstone.
outside of a review environment. But Hearthstone is amazing, so I don't want to hear any nonsense from you. You love every second of Hearthstone. It is crack. It is the best kind of crack.
Yeah.
It is the crack where the high is just even higher every time you win. So Tony, you are our guest. I'm gonna let you go first. What's some games that stood out for you? What occupied your crazy animal killing brain of yours?
All right, I'm going to go with this one because, and I'm going to do a little bit of plugging. This is the game that my site picked as the Game of the Year, and my podcast picked as the Game of the Year. And George, you're going to agree with me because this is the game that brought everybody together. Shadow of Mordor.
Yes.
That's the standout game for me. Like, granted, I like Dragon Age better, you know, because I'm just a big fan. But that game, Shadow of Mordor, is doing things, man. Like, you're going to see people copying that Nemesis system for sure. I love the fact that you could get into a room with 5 people, talk about the game, 5 different experiences.
Yeah,
I mean, have the same experience. It's amazing.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor was those games that, like, I think people didn't have that great of an expectation for it. They were just like, it's an open world game like Assassin's Creed starring Lord of the Rings characters or set in the Lord of the Rings universe. And you're like, okay, that could be okay. And then when you actually started playing, like, what really sold you was the introduction of this Nemesis system to a point where we're like, I wish they put this in every game in some way, shape, or form. Which is pretty amazing. And then also the game's not bad itself. I mean, we can talk about the story because, I mean, you can talk about the story because I still have no idea what the hell is going on in that game. I was more concerned of, like, I need more orcs to kill.
Yes.
And that was just having a kind of flawless game mechanic that kind of kept pushing you forward. Because the story is a little bit boring, and Talion is kind of like the most dull guy on the planet.
He's generic video game character. Like,
yeah,
pretty much.
He's generic gruff-faced video game dude. And
but he's like, Troy Baker.
Who isn't Troy Baker? Yes. All right, Troy Baker's Troy Baker's wearing a George mask right now. That's a bit of an actor he is.
Yeah, you're 100% right. The main story is not what sells this game. It's the stuff you do outside of it. The stories you make up, basically.
Yeah, and it's a game that played well too. Like, that's not underestimate the fact that, you know, it controlled really well. And we sit there and like, oh man, Assassin's Creed should have done this instead, or oh, it's Batman. Okay, cool. I can see this being introduced in the next Batman game or something. So a good job. I approve of it. What's your next one?
Dragon Age, a game that I've put an insane amount of hours on. It's BioWare, man. Like, these guys, they know how to tell great stories. I mean, this is the opposite of Shadow of Mordor when it comes to characters. Fantastic story, and I love how Like, actually, it's a weird thing. I both love and hate the amount of stuff they put in it. I like that you could just play this game for a long time and be satisfied with it, but at the same time, it's like, I have other games to play. I have a life. Why are you sucking me in? I need to be released. You know, but it's cool, though. Like, you could tell. Here's what I was having a conversation with my friend Brett, and he said this. He goes, this game is as dense as a fantasy book. There's so much lore in it. You could just get lost in it. It's incredible. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys already talked about this game on the show. I can't say anything more about it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is a dense game. I will give you that, and it's a game I enjoyed because it had all the kind of political intrigue that I thought was kind of lacking in some of the previous Dragon Ages, or just stuff that was kind of grazed upon because it was like, oh no, we got rid of this Darkspawn, we got to kill the Darkspawn. This was like very more like Game of Thrones this type political maneuvering that I really enjoyed. And I'm 2 for 2, Tony. I'm proud of you so far. What else you got?
Oh, I'm going to disappoint you now. My next one, and remember, going back to the amount of time you've put into a game and how much fun you've had with it.
Let's hear it.
Destiny. I'm saying it, Destiny. This was a game that, granted, there was no story.
Okay, you're not the only one to spend a lot of time with Destiny, and I think I have a theory on that, but go, continue.
Okay, but yeah, it's one of those things like, okay, this game is really, the mechanics are cool, the story's not existent. What is it about this game? Like, just getting all that loot grabbed me somehow. Just getting in there with my friends and just dicking around and stuff, that was all fun. And yeah, I don't know, it's a weird thing that no one can seem to answer. Why do I like Destiny so much? And I don't really know. I just really liked it. I put like $100 into it. It's really cool, but what's your theory?
My theory, when Destiny came out, every other major game release decided to avoid that day, that few weeks span. Everyone wants to stay steer clear of the shadow of Destiny coming out. So, one, nothing else came out. 2, that gameplay loop of shoot a thing, get something that's not quite your level, so I'm going to keep shooting more things so I can eventually get to that level so I can use this thing and then shoot more things to get better things. That loop works for people.
Yeah.
Like, even in the shittiest games, if you give them something Destiny does the carrot on the stick the right way, which is fantastic. It's just the problem with Destiny is all the other things surrounding that good gameplay loop is super gross or outdated and just like not great. Like the fact that you're telling me I can't make a fire team bigger than 3 people, that's stupid. Like, that's not how I play. That's not how you should play a co-op game. You're telling me I have to do these same missions in these same areas over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. No, that's not like.
But it works somehow. It works somehow.
It works. It works for you.
It works for most of the people. Dude, I saw people on PSN still playing the game. Now, here's something leading credence to what you said before. As soon as I got Shadow Mordor, I never went back to the game. It's like, okay, I got other shit to play now. And even now they have an expansion. I'm like, I'm good. I've had my fun with it.
Expansion's really good. It basically repopulates the orcs in your map again. And they're different types of orcs, so they're like on.
Oh no, I'm talking about Destiny. There's an expansion for Destiny. I never went back.
I didn't go back to it. I was surprised, and I'm a huge Bungie fan, and I thought I was going to want to be one of those people that was like, oh, I need to pick up the season pass and blah blah blah. And I'm playing Destiny, and I got to level 20. I beat quote unquote the story.
Yeah.
And I just lost all desire to play that game anymore because it was like a really archaic way of like, it felt like padding, where it's like, they're bringing me back to play these things so I can grind out loot like it was an MMO, but it's like it's not an MMO, and that's not why I came to Destiny. I came to shoot cool things, give me cool things for doing that, and like I felt like the universe you're in felt really small. And it was opposite to like what was presented to us.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the ironic thing is given how like the original intention of the game is for it to feel so vast and feel like this big universe and I've only dipped my toes into Destiny so far. I've only played like an hour or 2 of it since I got it. But I'm already kind of feeling that where I'm like, okay, like the levels seem kind of cool and the weapons and stuff, but like again, like I feel like I've heard so much negativity and just kind of like disappointment with Destiny that it's kind of like dampened my experience with the game or hampered my expectations a little bit with the game. So I have to play more of it first and see. But
that's interesting. You're coming at it from that standpoint because when I was playing it, I was in the middle of everybody's like, "Oh my God, Destiny's the greatest game ever!"
I think I've lowered my expectations a little bit, like just because of how I think like Tony said, how like everyone went into this game with all this hype and being like, "Okay, this is the next gen game. This is the one," and I kind of. I'm kind of going in like, okay, like if I get some enjoyment out of it, I'll be happy with it. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like I got my 20, 30 hours of enjoyment with Destiny, and I was like, I was ready to move on. it didn't hook me in to do like the full commitment and getting motes of light and all that nonsense. But I don't think I'm gonna touch the DLC unless someone says, no, dude, this DLC like fixes the game. Because I feel like the problem with Destiny, it feels like a lot of there's something hollow there that like it feels like a lot of stuff was just cut out or just kind of like being held back, which just seems really weird. Because yeah, you mentioned people were super excited too. I was excited the first 2 weeks playing Destiny, and then I realized after 2 weeks there's no more content.
Yeah.
Unless I just want to redo everything I just did just a little bit harder. Like no, I go to Diablo for that. Like a shooter, if you're gonna do that, then give me like a full multiplayer where it's like give me a bunch of different playlists, a bunch of different maps. Don't give me this kind of small-ish. Like I feel like if they made a bigger push on the multiplayer side of things, I would have made the single player a little bit more bearable because I'd play the single player, get all this gear, and then I can do it like on a capture the flag map or a blah 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 map. Like that would have made a little bit more sense. But it to me, Destiny felt a little bit light for a game that was being worked on like 10 years. Like that's insane. So I kind of want to see whatever Bungie had 5 years ago, like whatever they were working on. I want to see that Destiny. I mean, maybe we'll see that 5 years from now when we already bought into this 10-year plan of Destiny, so I don't know. To me, Destiny let me down. It was a good game, and I think I could say, yeah, I'm like here, I'm good. I think Destiny's good. It's not average because I mean it's a gorgeous game. The production value is sky high, and the mechanic of shooting, like the primary function of that game is to shoot funny-looking aliens in the face, and that feels really good. Like that still feels really good, and like. And Bungie knows how to make a shooter, and like they captured that. But like I said, it's like all this really random, weird grossness around it. That's just very peculiar design choices. What I feel like Destiny was like not my top 5. But yeah, continue, Tony. You did Destiny. So.
Yeah, Alien Isolation. That's my number 4. Great game. I love the fact that, because you notice how every single Alien game was based on aliens. Just shoot every single alien that's in front of you. This one is like, okay, let's go back to the original movie. Let's go back to basics. Now, granted, I will say the biggest problem with this game, I don't know if you beat it, George, you could have cut 10 hours of the game. Just cut it out.
Absolutely. I'm about like 2/3 of the game so far. Overall, I'm enjoying the pace, but there are definitely points where I'm like, okay, like I just feel like it's like a 20-hour game, and I feel like 15 of that is spent hiding from the alien, or like going into different, like trying to find ways to avoid the alien, stuff like that.
I mean, it's not even that. It's just like, okay, why am I doing this now? It's like this part, like this section should not be here right now. It's like that. Like the hiding part is not what fluffed it out for me. It was just like this section didn't even need to be here. You could completely cut it out and just.
There was a lot of busy work in that game.
There's a lot of backtracking, and it has a lot of like the Dead Space problem that it reminded me a lot of Dead Space in general as I've been playing it. But it has a lot of that where it's a lot of like fetch quest sort of things, or like you're going around all these different parts of the ship, and then like it just takes a while. Like there are definitely parts that they could have like trimmed down on that game, and that's like probably the biggest thing I'm seeing so far is that like it's definitely way too long.
Yeah, but when it works, man.
It does the good tension, but that game has no business being 20 hours long or 30 hours.
No,
it's 20 hours tops.
Because you know what? After a while, you kind of don't care what's happening in the story. Like it starts getting, and if you want to tell like a really tight, good horror story or scary story, you kind of have to keep them engaged. Like after a while, you're just not scared anymore because you've been doing this for 20, 30 hours. I feel like the way they should have done with Alien Isolation. They should have had multiple characters. Yeah, everything's done in first person, but narratively, give me halfway through. Oh wait, Ripley disappeared. Let me go play as this guy or something. Like give me. I've been playing a lot of Zombie U because I just got a Wii U, and you end up doing a lot of the missions over. But the interesting part is every time your character dies, you respawn as a new person. Who's so it'd be like if I died, I'd respawn as Tony Polanco, writer. So you'd go out into the world, and then you have to go get your backpack back because that's like important for everyone. So you have to go find my previous corpse, who I then just turned into a zombie.
Oh man!
So in order for you to get your life-saving equipment, you have to kill Zombie George, take the backpack, and move on. So it's like this really weird thing of like you've been stuck with this character for so long, now that character's gone, and now you have to kill that character as a new person entirely. Like that's really cool, and that helps it feel fresh in a way. Like it's a neat little trick to make it feel fresh, even though you're playing kind of the same content over and over again. It's one way. Like I wish they kind of did like that weird. I wish it had that kind of twist later on, and not that big twist at the end of the game, but like a nice twist of like, oh, here's a new character, or I don't know, give me Mama Ripley. Like that would have been cool. Like 8 hours just playing Mama Ripley. Like that would have been sweet. But
No, but
Okay,
no,
you know
I
what?
mean, I want to talk about the alien though itself. I really like that this thing felt like it was smart, like it was
Mhm.
adapting to what I was doing. Like by the end, like because I used to hide in closets a lot. By then, they wouldn't even fuck around. They were just like, all right, I'm coming into that closet. They wouldn't even wait. It's like, damn, really? And then I
Yeah.
saw, yeah, and then I saw one of my friends playing it. He would run out a lot every time he heard the alien. So the alien would just like, okay, I'm just gonna stay in the room right here because I know he's gonna run out. I'm just gonna wait for him. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, my favorite was always like you see the alien zip by you, and you're like, okay, you're good, and he's still just waiting for you. Like you're like,
Yeah.
fucking douchebag, and
Yeah.
like
I
that was really cool. That was a good. That gave me like a good Nemesis vibe of this like indestructible
Yes.
chasing
I was just
you.
saying, I feel like between this and Middle Earth, like they both have these kind of like central gameplay mechanics that like kind of like that's what makes them unique. Like Middle Earth, you have the Nemesis system, and then Alien Isolation, you have this like really intelligent alien, and those are kind of like the two standout features for me. So
Yeah.
like, as I've been playing Alien, it's been kind of like okay, like I could definitely see them like apply this sort of thing to maybe some other type of game, in a different way, like not necessarily just oh something's chasing you or whatever, but it would be cool like because that's been even there, though there have been like stretches of the game where I've been kind of like bored. I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired of having to go and fetch these things for these assholes that don't want to go do it themselves.
Yeah.
But the alien encounters have always made it tense because it's never the same. It's never the same. Like there are some times where I go through a mission and go through an objective with like no problems, like it's a breeze, and then other times where just the alien is on my ass, like just all the time. I'm like just I'm just ducking and diving under tables and like hiding in closets because I'm just like like one time I literally walked into the room, was about to hit an objective, alien drops in front of me, and I was like, oh shit. So I just had to like run to a closet, and it was a lot of fun. It's another of those things like you said with Middle Earth where it's like everyone has different stories because just things like happen so differently. So
Yeah.
Okay, you know what, Tony? I'm getting more okay. You've convinced me otherwise because you know what? I was like, yeah, I did play that. I'm like, yeah, that was kind of fun. But then, yeah, like I said, if it needed some trimming, and by trimming, it needed a chainsaw. Right, half of the length of the game, I think, would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean,
Like that would have been the perfect like that would have been a supreme, awesome top shelf game if it was 10 hours shorter.
yeah, because
And it's really weird when we say that about because people love complaining
Yeah.
about lengths of games, but it's like, look, it doesn't matter how long it is as long as you can as long as you can tell me your story and keep me engaged for as long as you need me to.
I think it's an I mean obviously like something like Dragon Age where you could put like 120 hours into that's your choice, but I feel like Alien because it is a guided experience like it is 20 hours for that kind of experience is pretty long, and it's a matter of like what the game is and what its story is like and all that. So.
Yeah, I mean the story for the game was actually pretty cool. I call it Alien 2. Alien 2, that's what it actually felt like. This was a good. Yeah, they could have just trimmed some of that stuff. It would have been a lot better because with a horror game, you can't just have people like. Have that kind of tension on time because for a while you'd be like, I'm not scared anymore. At one point I was like, you know what, fuck the alien, I'm just gonna run. I don't care. I mean,
coming off of playing games like Amnesia and Outlast earlier this year, which are like 5 or 6 hours, I felt like that was like the perfect length. They didn't overstay their welcome. They gave me enough tension. An Alien like it's still tense, but it's like as I'm going later on in the game, like I kind of like I think the problem with the alien encounters is that they don't really like have any. They don't have a lot of variation. It's just kind of like once you figure out how the alien works and all that stuff, by the end of the game you're like, okay, well I kind of know how to deal with it now, and there's not really like any progression of how to make it more difficult, other than when they change it up and like throw the androids in there and stuff like that. So
yeah, I just at the end of the game I just hit it with a flamethrower. It's like get out of my way. I'm just done. I'm done.
All right, Tony. So I'll give you a 2.5.
All right.
So far.
I don't know if I'm going to disappoint you with my last one, but I enjoyed it. Last one, Infamous Second Son, Ultimate Power Fantasy. I like superhero stuff. This is a really cool superhero game. First one on PS4. That was the first PS4 game I played. I'm like, okay, this is worth getting the damn system for. Because before that, I was like, why did I buy this? Had a ton of fun. And hey, I'm bookending it. Troy Baker game. So there you go.
The Troy Baker stand. Well, didn't you know that the alien was voiced by Troy Baker? Like,
guys, you missed it.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Second Son is still not as good as the first game. That's still like the best Infamous game to me, but I had a lot of fun with it.
I would go with 2 over 1, I think, but
I mean,
I had my issues with 2.
I like the story more in 2. No, actually, no. Which is the one where he sends the bad guy's actually himself from the
one.
past.
That's
Yeah,
why I like
did
it.
I like
That's why I
one?
liked it.
Okay.
'Cause I'm like,
That
that's
sense one, yeah.
That's a great twist. I like that one
I love
actually.
that. Yeah, yeah. So that's my number 5.
I love that Tony's list has basically become me knocking down his list. Like this is
Yeah.
why you're back because you literally pick games that we talked about our disappointments of the year. You have like 2 games that are like, oh yeah, those are on my disappointments list. Like Tony's crazy.
Yeah,
But I can see how you liked Infamous. I mean, it is a
Infamous was
gorgeous
good.
game.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely like taking it at that because it was really like the big PS4 exclusive of the year. There weren't too many others, so you know, I
There
felt like
weren't any others. What are we
Yeah,
talking
I mean,
about? Like it doesn't work.
yeah, I mean, excluding things like The Last of Us and all that stuff, you know,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
like the big new exclusive for the year, and I felt like it was really good as because I mean I just got a PS4 and like I got The Last of Us and GTA, and I also got Infamous because that was like the game I wanted to play the most out of all the PS4 games that came out this year. So you know, and it definitely, like you said, it definitely was worth picking, even though it's like it's got some rough edges and it kind of feels like it feels like an early new console game. Like it
Right.
feels like a lot of like you know.
Yeah.
You hit that right on the head, Ryan. Like that is
Yeah.
exactly what it feels like.
It definitely feels like a very early, like kind of like the games you played like on PS3 or 360 when they first came out. Like you see a lot of potential there. It just has, it's like it's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Like super pretty, but kind of
Or-
lacking
or-
in other areas where you're like, you know,
or-
if they had 8 months with it, like 8 more months
Yeah.
with it, they probably could have turned to something special.
It's a blast shard in the rough. So you
Yes,
know, but
nice. I like that.
it was really, it was fun though. I enjoyed it a lot.
By the way, the DLC for First Light is really cool.
Yeah, I'm actually they're adding it to PS Plus in January, and I'm really excited to playing
very
it. So
nice.
I'm very very excited to play that. So yeah,
Very good.
Is it free? Oh, okay. If it's
yeah,
free,
it's gonna be on PS Plus next month for January. So
Nice.
I'll definitely play it then.
Yeah.
All right, Tony. You know, your list is okay. Let's go with Ryan because I know me and Ryan have not similar tastes because he's Smash Brothers. So, but Ryan,
George, you have taste all your own, my friend. You are very unique when it comes to taste.
he's gonna knock down all the.
I like
he's
good games. I don't know.
I
like,
say two of Tony's games are on my list, and I've got Smash Brothers.
There's 2 of Tony's games are on my list too. So
and then Smash Brothers is on there, so you're gonna knock it. Anyway, so should I
there's hope
just
for you guys.
I'll start. So are we just doing top 3 or 5?
Okay, 5. Tony did like 3.5 or 4. I don't know. Like
I'll go with
5, you
handle it.
bastards.
I'll go with 5. So I'm going to start out. My number 5 is Transistor, which from Supergiant
okay.
Games. You know, the developers of Bastion, and I think this was probably the biggest indie game that was. I mean, like indie game, because it's kind of a pejorative term now. But like Transistor was probably the biggest one I was looking forward to all year. I played it at PAX this year, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't too much different from Bastion. Like it had a lot of very similar gameplay elements to Bastion. If you played those, if you played that, but like I just felt like the game just visually like just caught me so off guard just because it was so beautiful, and especially the music. The music is easily probably my favorite soundtrack of the entire year.
Yeah,
in
it's
terms of
really
game
good.
Soundtrack. It has an
Darren
awesome
Core,
soundtrack.
he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I've met him a couple of times. He's amazing, and
he's awesome.
Logan as the voice of the sword he's another really cool guy. And I'm so happy when they work on the sound and the music of games together because it's just like they're going to come out with something like spectacular. And I didn't beat Transistor, but I like your list so far, Ryan. I do like Transistor.
Yeah, it was actually funny because I was between for the number 5 spot. I was between this and Child of Light because I felt like those are both kind of big, not really. I mean, like Child of Light's not really indie, but like those kind of smaller, like downloadable games, with some really neat ideas and. But Transistor just really stood out. It just really stood out to me, and it just, I still like, even just when I hear the music, like on my iPod or whatever, I still like get chills thinking about it. So that's, that's kind of why I had it in there, just because it did such a good job building this world and these characters and all that. So I've got that, and then my number 4 is The Wolf Among Us, from Telltale, which was great. I think just because I love Telltale is easily one of my favorite developers and publishers, and especially this year they had such a big year between Walking Dead, they had Wolf Among Us, then they did Game of Thrones and Tales from the Borderlands, and they've announced even more stuff they're working on, with the new Minecraft game coming out and all that. So I just felt like Wolf Among Us kind of best represented for me, like all the stuff they've done this year. I don't know. Have either you guys played Wolf Among Us at all, or finished it?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't played. I got to download the whole thing because I've been looking forward to that.
But I just, like between, because this was going on at the same time as Walking Dead, and I enjoyed Wolf Among Us. I felt like more than Walking Dead overall. I really enjoyed the story and the direction they took it in. That it was kind of like a darker, like like similar to Walking Dead in terms of how it plays. Like it's still typical walk around, like click on things, see what they do, that sort of thing. But like I really liked the style, and I wasn't familiar with Fables, so it was kind of nice to get to go into something I was a little unfamiliar with, like instead of Walking Dead. But yeah, and it ended really strongly, and they haven't announced yet whether they're doing a season 2. I hope they do; it would be awesome. But if they didn't, like I feel like I'd be okay with that because they ended it perfectly. It was,
and
great,
there's plenty of and like from based off the books, there's plenty of material that they can go on. So like in theory, you can kind of have this going. You could have seasons upon seasons, which would be great.
Yeah, it would be cool. But yeah,
I'm gonna side with you on this one, Ryan. That is a good choice.
I'm doing better. I'm doing better than Tony so far. So
yeah, my only big critique for Wolf Among Us is I don't think the episodic format helped it at all because there are a couple episodes that do drag, but when you play them together,
I think more so than like Walking Dead, like it probably suffers from that more. Like I think Walking Dead, the episodes stand a little better on their own versus like Wolf Among Us had some really especially the 4th episode was really short and just didn't really have a lot of content in it.
45 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It was like almost like barely over an hour, so it was really short. But definitely that's probably out of all Telltale's games, that's the one I most want to go back to and replay when I get a chance. I'm not playing everything else, but. So number 4, I've got Wolf Among Us. Number 3, we talked about this, Alien Isolation. I'm still in the process of playing it, but so far from what I played has been really enjoyable. Length issues aside, because I think it is way too long. At least I think I'm about like 13 hours in, and I'm still only like 2/3 of the way through the game. Like, are you kidding me? Like, there are a lot of parts during the game where I'm just feeling like it could end here, but it keeps on going. It's like Return to the King, where it just keeps on going.
If you're 13 hours in, you're not 2/3 of the way in, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, it's still. I'm getting there, but Tony's already pretty much described what I like about it, but I've been so excited about this game just because the idea was so cool when I first heard about it. Even though I think when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, oh, it's gonna be the next Alien Colonial Marines,
Oh, no.
I was like, but when I saw the trailers and the idea and everything like that, I just thought that's a really cool idea. Like, that rather than instead of taking the typical route where they would have done like an action game or a shooter or something like that, instead they basically took like Outlast and Amnesia and all those, and it's basically a AAA version of one of those games. And it's really cool. Not all of it works, but it's still probably a lot of my people I've known that have like been talking about this game have been saying it's like definitely like the riskiest game this year because it is this big like AAA produced game by Sega, and it has like the mentality of like an indie game where it does some really cool ideas. So so that's Alien for me. Then my number 2 is Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor, like everyone else here apparently. So again, we pretty much talked about this to death already, but I played this on PC, and I loved pretty much every minute of it. It was just so fun. It was another one of those games where it was like, I think if you took out the Nemesis system, it would be Assassin's Creed or Batman. Basically, that would be it. It was like, because there's really not much else to the game, which is why I wanted to not play it on 360 or PS3, since it's like it has a neutered version of it in there.
Yeah, what's the point,
Yeah, but the Nemesis system made the game so much fun because like a couple of my friends that are playing the game now that are just starting it, and we're just talking about we're basically just talking about all the funny orc names that we've encountered, like Ozdouche, like that's basically like what we've been doing, like sharing screenshots of like Ozdouche the Unkillable and Kaka whatever. It was like douche, like that's been, but that's the great part about the game, and I just feel like more so than even Infamous or Destiny, these like big hype games like Middle Earth is going to be like the game that's like the next gen game, the game that kind of shows, okay, these are the kind of things that we're going to see next gen. Like, the graphics are slightly nicer and the animations are a little bit better, but it's like these kind of systems that show, what the previous console generation couldn't do before. And I feel like Middle Earth is probably the best example of that so far. So.
Agreed.
And then my number 1, an obvious pick probably based on my preferences, but Super Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS.
Okay, Ryan, why do you like Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U and 3DS?
Yeah, explain why people like this series in general, because I don't get it.
Yeah, because to me it looks like a bunch of crazy-looking Nintendo characters throwing things at each other and flying off a platform.
Yeah,
mishmashing like that, and then
that is the game. That is the game.
I mean, yes, I'm a self-professed, Super Smash Brothers nut, as I've said many times on this show and elsewhere, and George making fun of me for it, or just not allowing me to speak at all about it. But I grouped together the Wii U and the 3DS versions because they're basically like very complementary experiences. But I feel like Nintendo's a company that's they're not really known for taking risks. Like they kind of just they iterate rather than like evolve or revolutionize each new game. But I felt like these versions of Smash Brothers, they're really like the Smash Brothers games in general are already like really packed with content. And then when I played the Wii U version, I was just like, my God, there is so much new crap in here. It's ridiculous. I mean, especially just for the 8-player Smash alone, it's like I think the 8-player Smash is the most fun I've had in the game this year because my friends and I over Thanksgiving break, we just spent a weekend playing the 8-player Smash and we just couldn't stop. It was just too much fun. Like it was just like insane. We didn't know anything that was going on, but it's like those are the kind of experiences that like make me want to get a Wii U or go to Nintendo games because you can't really have those kind of experiences anywhere else. And same thing for like the 3DS version, like having Smash Brothers on the go and just being able to connect with the Wii U version and the Amiibo as well. The Amiibos are a fun new addition. So I just felt like they added so much new stuff to this game. It just gets like bigger and bigger every time a new one comes out.
Well said, Ryan. You know what? It is. You
approve?
You know what? Fine. I approve. I played Smash Brothers, and I got that in my Wii U. That was in my bundle. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this fucking game out. Like Ryan like swears by this game. Man, let me hop on. Like I would love for me to put in Smash Brothers, turning it on, and then playing and be like, oh, I fucking get it. Like, that would have been the highlight of my life. But
I could play Smash Brothers until the sun goes down, pretty much.
Yeah,
so it's like I can always.
You may have. So. I'm not playing with anyone, so maybe you have to play with me, or maybe that's the appeal is you have to play with people. But yeah, I put in Smash Brothers. I did a match, and I literally my mouth was open. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yep, that's me.
Where's Link? I'm like, oh, wait, there I am. No, I'm off the map. Oh, okay, I lost. Oh, okay.
I mean, I can understand. I know like I definitely know a lot of other.
I want to love Smash Brothers, Ryan.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know. You'll learn in time, my young Padawan. So, but so that's
George, our befuddlement of Smash Brothers is what brings us together because I don't get it either. Everything you said, I agree with. I'm like, all right, where am I? What's my character doing? Who am I right now? I don't get it.
Why does the villager throw up a tree? Why can't how does a tree hurt me? This makes no sense.
The tree for the win. But yeah, anyway, so those are my top 5. Really quick, I just have my disappointment for the year has been The Evil Within. Heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
Heartbreakingly has been my big disappointment. I was really pumped about this game just because I love horror games, I love scary games, and
Shinji Mikami, I mean, the guy who made Resident Evil. You're like,
I know.
Okay, you can't go wrong with this.
I was watching the commercials, I got so pumped, and then I played the game, and it was just a big pile of shit as I played it. And I was like, I was so disappointed just because the story there are parts of the game I like I like that it is kind of like a mix of like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and tries to bring in but I felt like it was almost like a remake of RE4, just a shitty remake.
Yeah, maybe did I tell you, Ryan? Like if this game, if The Evil Within came out 5 years ago,
it would have been great.
We would have had a completely different tune about it. We would have been like, this is the greatest horror game in history. Tommy's a genius. We should make him king of the world. But we're playing it, and you're like, this is super, like, there are better ways to do all of this, and it's so weird.
Yeah, it came out at a bad time, especially post, like, Amnesia and games like that have really, like, changed how horror games have been seen, or, like, Outlast and things like that, or even Alien, like, coming so close to Alien. It's definitely a more old-school type of game, and I appreciate it for those things, but there are just a lot of really janky aspects of that game that just didn't work. I remember having to go through one of the... You guys both finished it, right? Or you both played it? Yeah. So, like, towards the end of the game, when you have the big battle royale where you have to fight, like, 3 dozen dudes at, like, the same time, and I had no ammo, and I was literally scrounging every body for every scrap of ammo I could. At one point, I just had to go up and down a ladder just beating guys off the thing because I had no ammo. It didn't... It wasn't tense or like frightening. It was just annoying and just like really. Yeah. I was just so upset because I was hoping it would be so good, like getting a new like horror, especially from Shinji Mikami, like this really new horror experience. It just didn't really deliver that. So it was that was my big disappointment for the year. So
okay, what was your disappointment, Tony? Let's backtrack a bit.
All right, I gotta admit, didn't actually play The Evil Within. I just saw people play it, and yeah, it's bad. That probably would have been my disappointment. I don't actually have like a big like, oh my god, I wanted this game to be awesome, and it sucked. I guess the only thing that falls as a disappointment, even though I kind of expected it to be a disappointment, was Watch Dogs. It just didn't live up to what everybody expected. I mean, it's fun if you don't. I know it's not even fun. That's maybe the wrong word to use. It's
playable.
It's a playable game. Yeah, I guess it's a disappointment. It's like you guys raised the bar so high with that E3 trailer, and you delivered like a mediocre open world game, like a by the books open world game.
Mm-hmm.
There's really nothing special about it. It really isn't at all. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be my disappointment.
It reminded me of like when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out and there was nothing but like GTA clones. It feels like one of those games.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I already knew because I was kind of excited for the game, but then when we all went to PAX and I was like, hey, a month away from the game, can I play the game? No, here's the video. I'm like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah,
lower your expectations, Tony.
There were plenty of just giant red flags just in our faces, like, this is not going to be good, we're sorry. Just read between the PR speech.
Yeah, I have two quick honorable mentions. I'll just keep them really brief. But the first, I was originally gonna have three, but I know George is gonna talk about one, so I'll let him talk about it. Go
for it.
But anyway, the other two are South Park: The Stick of Truth, which I finished pretty recently, and I have to say, I think I just enjoyed it the most because, aside from being probably easily the best South Park game that's ever been released, not that that's a hard bar or anything like that. But just because it made me laugh, and because there's so many games that don't really do that as much anymore. Like, there aren't really truly funny games. And I felt like, so I loved Stick of Truth just because it did that, because I was literally laughing out loud. Especially at the one part, I think, where you're with Kyle's parent, or someone's parents, and they're having sex in the background, and you're like,
the Underpants Gnomes.
Yeah, the Underpants Gnomes missions. Yeah, that was I was laughing the whole time because I'm like, I cannot believe this.
One of the sequences is you have to dodge your dad's balls as they come this way.
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. I was playing it and being like, is this happening right now? Is this on my screen? Is this happening? But it was great. Aside from it being actually a really good game as well, it was fun. Mm-hmm. And my other one is PT. Whether you want to classify this as a game or not, it was one I was on the fence about actually including on my list, just because it's again, it's kind of on the fence about being a game or not. But I just felt like it was such a cool experience. It's such a cool and neat idea.
It did its job. It was supposed to scare the bejesus out of you and also tell you oh, hey, by the way, we're making a Silent Hill game.
And
that was the two objectives it did.
Yeah, and never would I have thought that PT would be scarier than games like Evil Within or Alien Isolation, but it easily was more scary than either of those games.
Oh,
they were just I even watching people playing the game, I just had to it was I'm not scared easily, and it still was intense as hell. So.
Oh, Ryan, I need to jump in real quick because yesterday I was hanging out with Manny and Chris and a bunch of other people, and this is what we did. We played PT. I never finished it because I played it when it first came out. I'm like, nope. Fuck this. This is too goddamn scary. So we're in a room, 5 people, and I'm scared shitless. But we managed to beat it. There were girls. By the way, there were girls, so they were screaming and stuff. It was fantastic, man.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm even there. I'm I try to turn away sometimes. I'm a pretty hard guy. When it comes to a video game like terror, I can't deal with it. Not with that game. And dude, think about it. All you're doing is just going in a square, basically. And
it's terrifying.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's it for me. I'm done. So, George, it's all you.
It's all me. So I decided I gave myself a couple of rules when deciding what my top 5 was going to be. No remakes. I'm not saying that all remakes are bad, but I wanted to say I want something new-ish.
I think it should just again when I was going through my list, I think it should just be new experiences out this year, not re-releases or things like that.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying. No remakes.
I mean, that being said, Grand Theft Auto 5 remake is that is the right way to do a remake.
Yes, it's fantastic.
If you're going to make a game, if you're going to remaster a game, that is the right way. That is clearly was not a cash grab. It was what more can we do to this experience to make it better on the next gen? And I feel like they did that. So I decided, and I kind of went with Ryan's side here. I picked some games here that were the main element was humor. I just kind of noticed that as I was looking at my list, and I was like, there was a common thread there of some games that made me laugh and smile. So I'm going to start with Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox One. Very goofy, dumb, fun, open world game that was it had just this very punk rock vibe to it. It was it showed me that Insomniac can make fun games again.
Yes.
Because after Haze and Fuse
I didn't do
and
Haze.
Haze was their game, right?
No, it wasn't.
No,
You're
it's
thinking
like
about Resistance.
Resistance. I'm sorry. Resistance. I mean, great game, but like, yeah, really somber. Not the
Not Ratchet and
yeah,
Clank.
like
It's
yes.
not that crazy, crazy goofy guns and Ratchet, and like I to see them that they had their sense of humor back again, and just playing that game was really fun. I made a guy who looked exactly like me, and he had this big foam sword hitting people in the face, and I was just like, to me the humor worked, and my only problem with that game was it was a bit of like a slow starter, like figuring out the traversal system of the hanging and the grinding and stuff like that took some getting used to, which easily could have been fixed if they put skates on the person's feet, just so it gives you the idea of like, how are these grinding on that? They're just sneakers. Like, oh, well, it's skates, future skates. That's it. Like, if they use that excuse, that would have been fine. But once you kind of get over that hump and you get the air dash and like maybe the hour mark or hour and a half mark, when you can like string together all these cool, complicated moves, that's when the game just like clicks and it becomes second nature, and that's when it gets really, really fun. And the writing is so clever. And like I said, it was good. Like like you mentioned, when you're playing South Park, it's kind of like, yeah, this made me laugh and maybe chuckle every once in a while. And it was an open world game that had, didn't have that. It wasn't overly padded, didn't have that much busy work. Look at its collectibles, but all the side missions had reasons to exist. And it's either where it'd be like, hey, if you do this, we'll give you some cool crap. If you do this, it'll give you a little bit more info about like a side story within certain characters. Like you find out the origin of Fizzy, which is like this big, you fight a robot skyscraper at the end of the game that you have to climb up and beat it, and it's cursing you, calling you an asshole.
Fantastic.
And then you find out that he's just like, this little robot's like a tragic, he's a tragic villain, and like he was put together by focus groups trying to make, like the same way you focus test like a video game. Like that is really clever and really like inside baseball. And I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. So Sunset Overdrive. Yeah. Good job. I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to play it, but like, yeah, it was half price this week on Xbox One.
I know that was like the game I wanted to play the most out of the entire. I got Xbox One, but that was like the one I really wanted to play. Other than I played it a little bit at E3. I played some of the multiplayer, and it was really fun. Like it is just one of those games that just has so much energy and just like it's so fun, and especially like compared to all the games that are like gray apocalyptic shooters, with like sadness and death, and it's a nice change of pace from that. So
yeah, and it's like a fucked up dark story, but it's told with just a like don't give a fuck, fourth wall breaking attitude, which I'm like, I can appreciate that.
And especially when I heard about the one quest, isn't there the one quest I think where you have to find someone that has the quest icons for your missions or something like that?
Yeah,
I was like, I was like,
it's dumb. Like I like it. It's like super self-aware, and like what, I appreciate when we get a game like that. Now, not all games need to be like this. Like let's draw the line there.
Yeah.
But so next, I'm doing an indie game, Jazzpunk. I'm sticking with the humor vibe. Jazzpunk is a drug trip practically. You are playing a detective. You're playing like kind of like a private eye, searching. You're doing missions. So one of the missions has you invading, has you breaking into the Russian consulate. And what you might do is you have to walk up to the clock and move the clock up to 12, and everyone goes on their lunch break. It's like that kind of silly. And you pick up the red phone to the Kremlin, and you can like launch nukes, or you go to a resort because you need to find someone to assassinate or drug, and he's there expecting a hot date. So obviously you take your cute little roundish looking character and dress him up like a girl, and now you're cross-dressing, and then you get roofied, and then you wake. It is a game that is like, I can't really get into it because everything's kind of like a spoiler for that game, but it is the perfect example of just absurd comedy. And we talk about length of a game. It is a good 2 to 3 hour game that it is perfect, because if that game was any longer, I could see that humor driving a normal person insane, because by the time it ended, was the time that I was already kind of to be over. Like, I wanted the game to end by the time it ended. I was like, okay, good, I'm not sick of this game yet. And Jazzpunk definitely gets that's good number 4. So I kept the humor there. Because now I'm going to put, my 3 is going to be Shadow of Mordor.
Yes.
I think, what? Like, it was a surprise for me. Like, it was a game I was not expecting.
Surprise for a lot of us.
Yeah, and you know what? It's something to be said where it's like, if you have a good mechanic, you can have mediocre elements surrounding that, and people could still have a great time with it. And like I said, that Nemesis system, it told its own narrative. which I loved. Your interaction with the orcs, and like how Ryan said, everyone has their own different weird orc captain story, their orc encounter story.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I fought this guy and he ran away from me and he called me motherfucker, and then when I saw him again, he goes, "You shot my eye, I want to take your eye," or "You threw me in the fire, I can't wait to burn you." Like, that's really cool when the orcs come out and they all start like chanting like "Dushka, Dushka, Dushka."
Yeah. There's so many good, like even just from the one time where I think there was one orc I had to kill, like war chief I had to kill with a the big four-legged beast things. I forget what they're called.
Oh, Caragors.
Caragors, yeah.
Love
Caragors.
Caragors.
So I had to infiltrate a fortress with a Caragor and like chase this dude all through the fortress. I was like scaling buildings, jumping down, and like just bull rushing people. It's like it was nuts and it was so much fun. But those are the kind of things that just make that game fun because you just have all these wacky stories from it.
The random stuff is what I love. Like that happened to me in one mission. Like I got to infiltrate the base. I'm just skulking around, and all of a sudden, just Caragors just show up out of the door. I'm like, what the hell? And then they go to attack my target. I'm like, that's cool. And then they kill him, and they turn around, they go after me. It's like little things like that. And by the way, I can never reconcile this. I would chop an orc's head off. He'd come back with a neck brace. It's like, wait, no, dude.
Well, I think it was the game. I think the thing is, the game itself had a very limited number of orcs because it couldn't generate randomly everything. So it had to repeat itself because at some point you need to have like, well, we're gonna have 400 orc names here. Like, no, we'll just keep this 50-ish orc names. But yeah, they do have people that you just can't murder off completely because it's like if you do that, there'd be no orcs ever left.
Yeah, so, but it put me in a weird place. I'm like, okay, I chopped your head off, you should be there, but I appreciate the fact that you can't have a neck brace now. Great.
They just put it back on.
They just put it back on. No big deal, you know.
Yeah, and now he's not invulnerable to beheadings anymore because that happens too. It's like if an enemy has a specific weakness and you don't fail to kill him with it, he's like, okay, I'm not weak to that anymore. Fuck you. You know, great stuff.
He learned the second time around.
And my number 2, definitely Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yes.
Just I love me a good open world RPG. Like that is some good hard fantasy, good dumb elf, dwarf, mage, Templar politics going on. I am a sucker of being told I am a leader of something. Like you are the leader of the Inquisition. This is your castle.
Like you are important.
And you are important. You're going to sit in this chair and you're going to condemn people to death, prison, or just, I don't know, whatever dumb thing you can think of. And to me, that worked really.
Oh, gotta take a drink.
Dramatic pause. That worked really well for me. And like I said, any game where I can create a character and see them speak, and like, I really dug it. The combat I wasn't too crazy about. I thought it was a little too like all over the place. And
yeah, it was okay.
Very easily broken. Like, at some point I just had my assassin can just do so much damage in one hit. It's just like, okay, why are people even bothering facing? They should just see me and be like, you know what, I give up. I don't even want to be part of this. Like, that's fine, and it's a little glitchy, but like I said, I forgave a lot of things because the story worked for me, and also just packed to the gills with content.
Yes.
And content you don't really have to do. It's more like entertain yourself. And it's like if you can care less about any of these other people going on right now, just run right through that story. And you know what? You got a good 20, 30 hours of a good time there. But if you really want to dive deep, you can be like Tony and do 200 hours because you're a fucking crazy person.
Yes, but it's so great. That's a game you cannot walk more than like 5 paces without bumping into something. There's always something there.
Yeah, I mean the last time I felt that way about a game was Skyrim. Where it was just like you can't go more than 15 feet in that game without being distracted with like, ooh, shiny, or like, ooh, what's this? What's interesting over here? And and playing that made me want a Fallout, like a new Fallout. I don't know why, but I'm sitting there and playing like, yeah, you know what? I can totally do sort of Fallout. And, it made me look forward
Fallout
to
so bad. Don't tempt me.
And it made me look forward to a Mass Effect, the next Mass Effect game. Because BioWare says like, yeah, this is essentially what the next Mass Effect's going to be like, except with replace horses with spaceships and orcs with Turians, then we're good. Like then, and I'm like, oh, that's something to look forward to. And seeing that they took the Frostbite engine, which I heard was not fun to work with, and turned it into a functional like giant world that's super pretty, and you could kill a dragon, and Freddie Prinze is really good as Iron Bull.
Yeah, he really is.
I want more
Iron fucking Bull. I love that line.
To me, that's great. And I'm like, good on you, BioWare. Like, in a year of like, I think we had a lot of disappointments as far as some games coming out. I think they lived up to the hype and maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That was the game that came out and it wasn't disappointing at all.
Yeah.
It lived up to that hype.
And for my number one, I'm going to take a book out of Tony's page. It was like, it's just a game I played a lot and kept me busy, and I kept coming back for more. I'm going to go with Hearthstone. World of Warcraft Heroes, Hearthstone, on the iPad or the PC or your phone or soon to be on the Xbox One. It is crack cocaine in the form of a collectible card game. And why is this important? Because I don't play those type of games, but yet I'm pulled into this. I am invested 6,000% into it because it's that good kind of feedback loop. The games are only like 10, 15 minutes long. Like you get in there, and it is so fulfilling. Me and Ryan were super addicted to this game for a while.
Yeah, and it's free as well, which is also like the best
free.
part. Yeah,
it's free. Like you can do whatever you want. You can play. You can defeat people. You can feel like you've accomplished something without putting a penny into the game. And to me, that is how you do a free-to-play game. That is the right way you do a free-to-play game. And that's why, like, great job, Blizzard. This was a game clearly cooked up in a lab. It was like, we got it. Like,
how do we take cocaine and make it into a video game? Basically,
some very smart, dangerous men worked on this game, and I applaud it completely. And good job. And excuse me, I'm getting all like emotional. But and a couple of honorable mentions. I'm going to do a feature like the best games you didn't play and going like indie games. So I'm going to kind of like exclude them for now. But games like Banner Saga or like Hitman Go, like those are really awesome games that you should definitely play. But I do want to give South Park a shout out because I think South Park is another game that made me laugh and also played really well. And I'm not a South Park fan. The same way I wasn't like a collectible card. I'm not really a big South Park fan, and yet I was there laughing at the jokes and being super engaged. And so I'm like, oh man, I should totally watch another season of South Park. Because I only kind of bailed after the first season. So I was like, yeah, if a game can make you interested in a genre or a franchise or like Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but you know what? Made me kind of give a shit about Lord of the Rings and maybe learn a little bit about the lore and stuff like that. And maybe it's a good entry point for a bigger, more impenetrable kind of like universe. And I think Lord of the Rings is a giant universe. It's really tough to approach unless you grew up with Tolkien. And like some people didn't, but they watch a movie and be like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. But man, yeah, as soon as those elves are speaking Elvish, she's kind of like, okay, I'm tuning the fuck out. And Shadow Mordor did a great job with that. And yeah, I'm gonna leave these for my feature. But
can I give my my shout out game? Because I forgot to
sure.
mention.
What game?
Game of Thrones season 1, episode 1. That was good. And I played this right. Yeah, I played this right after Dragon Age, the first playthrough. Now with Dragon Age, you know how it is. When you make a decision, you generally know, okay, that was the bad choice, that's the good choice. With this game, I'm like, I don't know if I made the right choice here. Like I'm looking, I'm like, okay, it's like, okay, pick a choice. You have 20 seconds. Oh shit. Let me pick that one. I don't know if I did the right thing. That standoff with Cersei was so tense. Her and Cersei, I'm like, this is brilliant.
And the funny thing is, a lot of those outcomes are pretty much the same, but you don't know that. And they always do this. They always give this illusion of like choice, like this illusion of choice and consequence. When really it's like, no, these same things are going to happen regardless. But and it's what hooked us in Walking Dead originally. Yeah. And we're okay with that as long as it's told really well, and we just can't quite see behind the curtain. And then when you're playing that, you don't realize it. And it makes you think like, oh man, maybe I should replay this and do this opposite decision and see if it changed. And like, if it's getting you to do that, then you've done your job in writing and making a good story.
Yeah, what I found interesting was that this game is obviously based off the show, right? But to me, it felt like the books. Like when you're reading the books, you feel that tension the characters feel when they're standing off with some of these other characters. I'm like, oh god, I felt that same tension when I was reading the books. Fantastic! I can't wait for the next one. This is a game I wish I didn't get a review copy of because I just want to play all 5 of them in a row and not have to wait. Oh man, fantastic! I had to give that a shout out. Great, fantastic game, man.
It's funny. I think we talked about most of my disappointments so far. Like like I said, Infamous and Destiny were kind of I was disappointed in them, but I don't think in the kind of larger scheme of things, they're perfectly fine games. They're good games. So I skipped. Watch Dogs was tempting to be like my number 1 because I think it was overhyped. We were told this is the next gen. We're delaying it to make it extra perfect, and it turns out we just got like a super average open world game, which is bleh. And that's what I felt when I was like bleh. I was like, all right, fine, I'm gonna complete you just to say I have it there so I can make fun of you. But or Assassin's Creed Unity, which I was really not expecting much out of.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe more of the fact that like how is this game that's a single player game not working the right way? And then it turns out, once you get everything working, it just turns out it's just another it's a mediocre Assassin's Creed game. They're back to Assassin's Creed 3 practically. It's like, like that is a bummer. But to me, my biggest disappointment was, I'm going to say this could have been on my best list, was the Halo Master Chief Collection.
Oh, yeah. That didn't come out very well, did it?
The game's primary function should be it should work when you put it home. And half of it isn't good enough for me. Like, I want to like this game because the times where I do play Halo the Master Chief Collection online, I sit there and I'm just overjoyed and nostalgic. It's like, oh my god, I remember how fun. It's still fun. And then you can't play it for a month or two. We're approaching the new year, and I tried playing this week, and I was getting booted out of matches and could not get a party together.
But it's an old game. Why doesn't it work?
That is the mystery.
I don't get it.
That is the mystery of 2014. Nothing works, Tony. Nothing works.
Oh yeah, that is true.
And to me, that is a big disappointment, because this was a franchise that is beloved for a lot of people. Like, this was like the shooter.
It's the original Destiny.
This is why Halo showed companies that you can make shooters on a console, that you can make shooters with a controller. People are like, no, you need a mouse and keyboard. What are you, nuts? And they're like, no, you can do a controller. Let's show you. And they did it, and it was amazing. And they did matchmaking. I never had a problem going online with Halo 1, 2, 3. Well, Halo 1 didn't have online, but Halo 2, 3, and 4, and Reach, and ODST, like, I was able to play with people day one at midnight and not have a problem. Might be a little laggy, but it's okay. I'm still playing with my friends. Halo Master Chief Collection did not work. It just doesn't work. I don't get it. It should work. I applaud 343 for kind of like jumping on the grenade for this and be like, yeah, we fucked up. We're working on it. Totally better than what the Drive Club people are doing. They're just kind of
man,
it's broken. No. Oh no, we're gonna add weather in eventually. Did you miss our patch notes? Weather's coming. I'm like, no. Weather should not be included post-launch Drive Club. And if I gave a shit about car racing games, Drive Club will be on my most disappointed list, but I came in approaching like, oh, it's a pretty car game? Great. I never will play it again. It's kind of like Gran Turismo. Like, I'm sure it looks fine. I just have no interest in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 340 taking ownership, like, all right, listen, if we give you ODST remastered, will this be okay? And a month of Xbox, we're working really hard. And I'm like, you know what? That's a step. But your first step is just make the fucking game work. And I mean, the Halo 5 beta is out, and that works fine. I played some beta this morning, and I was like, this game's great. Halo 5, this looks like it could be a fun game. Why doesn't the other one work?
They're too old, man.
It's on the same disc. What is happening? So clearly that was just like a disastrous thing that happened after launch, that was discovered after launch. It's like, wow. Like, because I feel like when you see Unity, you feel like this game was rushed. This game clearly... someone said this game needs to come out November or whenever, and it was like, oh okay, we're just gonna go out, or whatever you say. Maybe we can fix it. I think Halo, they didn't see this coming, and that's why we're seeing the response from Microsoft, because it's like, all right, wow, this is bad. Like, there are fires that need to be put out right now. This wasn't this wasn't them being shady or anything, or at least it came off that way to me. Like, I don't think they're being shady. I think it's just like, man, we missed something, and that's what it comes off to me.
I just hope between like Halo and Assassin's Creed and all the other games that had issues this year that it proves a mighty big point to next year that, like, a game has to come out when it's ready, not sure, like, even
don't be beholden to shareholders or your publisher saying, listen, we paid for all this marketing and blah blah blah. This game needs to come out in November, and it's like, well, no, the fuck it does not.
Because you look at the. There's the pressure of getting a game out on, for a certain deadline or whatever, but there's also the, which obviously, you have to do, but like, then there's the brand destroying, mistakes and things like Assassin's Creed Unity just made Ubisoft a laughing stock this year, and then even earlier this year with with Battlefield 4 continuing to have problems, early into the beginning of this year and all that. It's just like, I just hope next year that won't be as much of an issue. Not that it won't be, because obviously it'll still be an issue, but
the biggest surprise of this year is that Ubisoft somehow became a bigger joke than EA. Like, no one is ever talking. EA was the butt of every joke out there because they're EA. Like, they're so big. Like, who cares who's making fun of them? And we always were on like Ubisoft's side. I mean, I make fun of them all the time just because why not? It's fun to make fun of Ubisoft, I think.
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft,
It's because they're French, right? So.
How much money will you give me to make 900p on both systems? And it's like, look, guys, there wasn't a conspiracy to make it 900p on both systems. It just turns out the game doesn't work if it goes any higher than 900p, so they have to keep it that way. That was the big secret. Like, we fucked up. Like, and there's no excuse for the shady review embargo practices. Like,
oh my god, that was horrible.
Ubisoft took the cake. Like, wow. Like, I could not imagine them fucking up so consistently in like such a short span of time. But hopefully next year that'll work out a little bit. Which lead over to the my next bit. Just talk about anything happened this year, guys, that was like a big story for you that or let's try to keep it positive if we can. But
okay, good. So I'm gonna avoid something specifically then, because I don't want this show to go for another hour.
I don't need any Gamergate discussion or anything weird like that, because I feel like a lot of it's just irrelevant and
it's over. It's over.
And it's over, and that kind of shows you the strength of that argument when people are like, yeah, no one cares about this. Like, so there you go. That's we didn't really address it on the site, but that's my 30 seconds on #Gamergate. It's about ethics and journalism, guys. But Tony, how about you? What came up this year? What surprised you? What said, holy crap, that happened this year?
Okay, the one thing I can think about is like how E3 was basically, hey, you see all this cool stuff? You have to wait till next year. I found that very odd. Like, everything got delayed. It was like the year of delays. Batman was supposed to come out. Witcher was supposed to come out. Nothing came out. Everything's coming out next year, and it kind of made this year a little bit mediocre. I mean, like you said, Dragon Age is kind of what saved the year, because everything else. I mean, what did Sony have?
There was a reason this year was a year of remasters and remakes, is because there was nothing else out there, and it's and this is pressure from publishers saying like, well, we can't just go a year and a half while you make this game. We have to release something. Well, what do we've got Tomb Raider, we've got Sleeping Dogs. What do we do? Like, yeah, just release those. It's fine. Last of Us. Last of Us is a good example. It was a good remaster, but you know what? Like, I already played Last of Us. Yeah, it looks great and stuff, but I don't need to go play this game again. Like,
I guess
give me something new.
They both go hand in hand. It's the year of delays and the year of remasters. They go hand in hand, actually.
Because you need to fill in time. Because I mean, like, and I'm being accused of being so anti-Sony. I'm like, guys, get a grip. But like, if it wasn't for Sony scooping up exclusive indie contracts, where picking up games that came out on PC years ago and making them available on the making them crossplay and stuff like that, the PS4 would have nothing.
Yeah,
it's not even the PS4, the Vita especially. Like, the Vita would not exist without any of that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, and these are smart moves. I mean, what you do is you want to get content on your system, and that's an easy way out. Is instead of making remakes, it's like, well, what's popular on PC that we can kind of like shift our way, and that, to me, that makes a lot of sense. Is that worth buying a system? No. I mean, I give the if we're talking about the console war, I give the slight edge to the Xbox One as far as games out, because hey, you know what? They banged out way more Xbox One exclusives that I actually want to play. Like,
not just because of Smash Brothers. I would give the edge to the Wii U, just because this year, I mean, if you just
do people still consider, because I feel like just the big fight is like, I feel like the Wii U will exist in its own, like, a
little bit, but I mean, I think just in terms though, like, just I agree. Like exclusive, the exclusive battleground, like the Wii U had such a great year between Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Bayonetta, all these great games that came out this year for it.
Nintendo in general, though, man, even early in the year, like Bravely Default for the 3DS, like they definitely won the exclusive battle. That goes without question.
Nintendo skipped that. They didn't skip it. They went through their year and a half, 2 years of not having anything, and now it's finally all the games that we were promised are coming.
It paid off. It paid off this year, where they came in with the big guns when Microsoft and Sony had none. Basically, like for the holiday season. Like here and there were, but like not to the extent Nintendo had. So.
Yeah, I mean, in years past, Sony always had the most exclusives, and this year, what did they have? Infamous and Drive Club. That's it.
That was it.
I mean, you can, and people do it all the time in our comments. It goes, look at List Wars. PS4 technically has more games. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to play these games. You're showing me like really, great indie games, and me not knocking indie games, but it's like, most of these games I've already played on PC, and
they're not reasons to buy the system.
They're not
exactly. You tell me I'm going to spend $400 on a system, and I have no interest in Drive Club or Infamous. What else do you have that isn't like a third that I can't get on the other system? Right. Yeah. It's like, all right, then I might as well just wait. And that's been my approach. I've been like, just wait. And I'm like, listen, and you can defend your system to the death. I don't care if that's the hill you want to die on. That's how you want to spend your time. That's fine. But the reality is Microsoft barely, if we're matching head to head, Microsoft barely won because they, backloaded a lot of their stuff to come out later in the year, which makes a lot of sense because you want to time that around the holiday season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give the edge to Xbox because there was more stuff on the Xbox to play than on the PS4. Like I find that happens to me right now. Like I end up playing because there's more shit to play on it, or at least more shit I want to play on it. Like I played Loadout. That's on PS4. That's fun, but don't tell me that's a system seller. It's not a system seller. It's a good game, and I think the PS4 has a lot of good games, just nothing. No major system sellers. I'm looking forward to next year. Bloodborne, that looks awesome. Deep Down, that looks fucking that looks sick. Like I can't wait for that. Or The Order. I'm curious about The Order. That looks insane, and that looks gorgeous. So I can't wait to play those games.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. They're like, it's just a bit. It's like, okay, everything's coming out next year, and we got a lot of remakes. I'm enjoying some of the remakes, obviously, but yeah, come on, the real this current gen hasn't really started yet, as far as I'm concerned. It's still next year.
And they don't start, and it takes a couple of years.
Yeah.
And to people, and then I always tell people declare. I'm like, you can't declare a console war over after 8 months. Like you're insane. And also, it's not a war. It's And it's like one's got 17 million, one's got 10 million. The fact that's still a lot on both ends. So that means that to me that shows a healthy life cycle, which is fine because the idea is you want to get as many of these units out there so you can sell software. Like, yeah, that's great. Like, hey, remember, the last thing you want is to have a Wii problem where it's like, hey, we've got 100 million U's out there, and I'm like, there's nothing to play on this Wii.
Yeah, no games.
It's the waiting for Zelda or Mario Kart system, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or Smash Brothers, if you're Ryan. But it's like, yeah, and that's it. I'm not gonna throw this crappy shovelware at me. But yeah, I guess I'll tell you my surprise is, since we were talking into it, the Wii U. Holy crap! Like, thankfully, the lack of games on both systems made me appreciate my Wii U even more. Where I'm just like, I'm having all these genuine, one-of-a-kind experiences on my Wii U. It's amazing. Like, I started playing Bayonetta. The only reason I didn't put that on my top 5 because I just literally started, but I'm just blown away.
Yeah, Bayonetta is great, man.
Bayonetta 2 it is insane. And I love every fucking second of it. And it might be the best. That might have been the best hour of video games I've had for a very long time. And I'm just like, oh my god, who knew? I mean, I loved the first Bayonetta, but I was not expecting this. And to me, that was a smart move by Nintendo because this game was never going to exist. Nintendo took a chance, and no one else wanted it. And Nintendo was like, Sega, I guess we'll put this crap on our system. The hardcore gamers would probably like it. And look, the game's great. And look at that. Smash Bros. I'm sure is fine. If I wrap my head around Smash Bros., I might really enjoy it. But like, I'm playing Super Mario World. That's amazing. Donkey Kong is a lot of fun. And I'm just like, damn, I'm playing Zombie U of all like the dumbest games I could play. I'm having a lot of fun with Zombie, which is an Ubisoft joint. So see, I'm not completely anti-Ubisoft. Ubisoft does make good games sometimes.
Or even
which I reviewed. It's not great. So
or even Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which I know people are swearing.
That game's fun, man. That game's fun. Yeah, that game's fun.
And to me, that's great. And yeah, I'm like, and you mentioned earlier, good job on the Wii U, kind of like bringing out the big guns, while the other guys are just kind of like, oh, well, we're $349.99 now. Well, we've got 1080p's, while they got 900. Yeah, but we got exclusive, blah blah blah.
Yeah, but you know what? Nintendo brought what actually mattered, which is good games. That's
good games you can't find anywhere else.
Right. Yep.
Because we could sit there and when you talk about Dragon Age, you know what? I played Dragon Age on the Xbox One. You played it on the PS4. Me and you had a fantastic time, and not one of us said like, I don't know. I wish it had an extra. Yeah, I wish it was 1080p instead of 900p. Or like, no, your frame rate's a little weird. Like, no, like the game is great. The game looks gorgeous. And then like I tell Tony all the time, if someone tells you that they can see the difference between 900 and 1080p, then they are lying to your face.
Yeah, they're lying. They're full of shit. I'm sorry. Unless they have like ocular implants of some sort. No, they're lying to you.
They are full of shit because you know what? Watching those games on a 40-inch screen from a good distance away, you can't tell the difference.
Exactly.
Like, if you're playing your game like that, then you have an issue. So take a deep breath and you'll be fine. And wow, I think we talked about everything I wanted to talk about.
You did it.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Do we want to get into news? Do we care?
I'm good. I'm good with just this. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, there were some quick things that happened. Microsoft and Sony were hacked over the weekend, so
Yeah.
on Christmas
Oh,
Day.
man.
Some people just want to see the world burn.
Thank you. That's what I've been telling people. They just want to see the world burn. Like they're
Yeah,
like, oh no,
don't
they're doing
give me
this to
this.
prove a point. Like they don't have a point.
Hackers have nothing to prove. All right,
They
it's
don't.
just we can do it, so we will. And I'm like, no, people should be with their families. I'm like, fuck you. Don't give me this horseshit. You did it because you're like, oh, we can do this. All right, let's fucking try it.
Exactly.
And I will not feel any sympathy for you when you are arrested and tried and put in a federal prison, because it is a federal crime to try to take down a major corporation. And you know what? And I won't feel bad for you, and your hacker friends won't defend you. And you know, whatever, fine. I won't play on Christmas. You know what? Then I won't play on Christmas. I'm an adult. I have other things to do. I can read. I can watch a movie. I can go watch The Interview, which was a result of Hacked.
By the way, I didn't stop playing during Christmas because I have these things called single-player games. I kept playing.
Hey, I had a Wii U, so I was not interrupted at all. Like I was just there.
There you go.
Nintendo is not susceptible to hacks because I don't even think they know how their online works. They're begging hackers. I'm like, can you figure this out and then tell us? Because that'd be great.
Oh man.
But yeah, but that happened, and I think that was the major news. PS4 is still having some issues, so intermittent problems. So if you're having problem lock on, if you go to our site DualShockers.com, they've given us like different things you can do, because there might be some settings you can tweak on your end that will help you through there. And then you know what? Just we'll do this other bit. The Xbox One. This is the last week to get a discounted Xbox One, guys.
Oh yes.
So the $349 price that you're seeing for a lot of the bundles out there, particularly the big one is the Assassin's Creed Unity bundle for $349.99, and if you want the Kinect, it's $445.99. So $50 off. You know, that's a pretty good deal, and that'll be over by Saturday, January 3rd, and it's go back to its normal price.
Yeah.
People were discussing, especially in our forums, whether this is going to be a permanent, you know, whether they'll go back down again. I say if they do, they'll probably do it around E3 maybe. And maybe if they work out some sort of redesign of a system, you know, they do what everyone else does. At some point, you redesign the system after God knows how long, and you drop the price, or you just drop the price at E3 as kind of like your mic drop announcement after you announce like a new Gears of War or something. You know what I mean? Like after your big, huge review, and you're like, guess what? And you'd be playing this on your system this holiday season when it's $349.99.
Oh my God!
Spencer loses his mind. But considering the internet, would be like, oh fuck this guy. They're doing it because they're dead. And I had a big conversation on the forums like, this shows that they're really desperate. I'm like, they're 10 million Xboxes. They're not desperate. I'm like, they took advantage of a holiday. They did a promotion during a holiday season because that's the busiest time of year where people go out to buy things.
Because that's what you do. You know.
Because that's kind of what you're supposed to do when you're a business, and it's like, and you know, the gap is thinning, but then again, who cares? Because it's like if you told me if there were only 1 million Xboxes out there against like Sony's 17 million, then yeah, this would be a desperate move. And if it was desperate, they would have made it like $100. They would have said like, we need to get this shit out of here.
Desperate.
But it's not. The desperate is being over dramatic, and I'm just like, everyone needs to take a deep breath and stop rooting for the other guy to fail, because you don't have any actual personal stake in this. Like Microsoft is not threatening your family or the world. The world will still be overpopulated whether Microsoft exists or not. Or like, I don't know, this whole idea of rooting for one side to fail for no reason. Like to me, I get a sports franchise because I'm from here, blah blah blah. I'm from New York, screw Boston. Like, yeah, I can get that in some weird, crazy person way, but I don't understand why like you don't have any stake in these companies. Like, if I had Sony stock, I'd be like, fuck Microsoft, I would crush them, and then the other way around. But no, like you're having an argument about things that play video games and whether your black box is better than this other black box. And it's a dumb reason to play games. Like it is a dumb reason. If that's your motivation that gets you up in the morning, is to go to the computer and call some guy an asshole because he preferred to play Dragon Age on an Xbox or a PC or a PS4.
Yeah.
Like, come on, we should be better than this as a human species, but we're not quite there yet. I mean, every once in a while we do get a surprise. Because remember the last week we talked about the Final Fantasy 14 people that did a vigil for the guy who died. So it's like there is some light in this darkness. There are glimpses of hope with gamers and stuff like that. But
by the way, that was the greatest quote I heard this year. no matter if the Xbox or the PS4 wins, the Earth will still be overpopulated. That's brilliant. Thank you for that, George.
Listen, and I think it was. I think it was probably. I might be quoting the like Russ Frustick from who used to be at Polygon said like, hey guys, if games have really got you really upset, just be aware that in like 10,000 years the sun is supernova and we're all gonna be we're just gonna disappear. We're not gonna cease to exist.
None of this shit matters. You're gonna die in 5 billion years.
Yeah. But the idea is, like what you like and have fun with what you have, and try not to be too much of an asshole. Like, you have every right to be an asshole, but I'm just saying,
try not to be too much of an asshole.
You just don't have to be one. At least unless they have it coming, and liking something you don't like is not a reason to be an asshole. There are better reasons to be an asshole.
Jimenez life lessons on the show.
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come with a coalition. Just teach every one of you massive life lessons because you're all losing your mind. And talk to whoever your guy who liked the crew because the crew is terrible.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Oh, don't worry.
Hashtag shots fired.
I have my own problems with that guy. Shout out to Brian.
Tony, what you been playing? I was gonna go Ryan, but Tony, you're the guest. You go first.
Yeah, like I said, Dragon Age just finished that second time around, and GTA. Now I could go just dive into GTA because all my friends are like, Tony, GTA. Now I'm like, well, Dragon Age. but like bring it up. I like the first person mode because it makes it feel like a different game now. Yeah,
it does.
And you could tell they really put a lot of effort into it, Like
every texture was redone, so it's like you can read things off of signs, off shirts. Like that wasn't like that before. And I'm like, yeah, there's some effort put in this game.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're gonna do a remake, give me that kind of remake.
Yeah, that's great, man.
That is what people wanted Final Fantasy VII to be. Like, put that work in there. Like,
by the way, special shout out to the biggest troll of the year, man. That was fantastic. These dudes were waiting for that to be Final Fantasy VII. No, yeah, it is Final Fantasy VII, but not what you wanted.
I'm gonna tell everyone who tells me like, oh, shouldn't there be a Final Fantasy VII remake? I'm like, first of all, trust me, in your heart, you don't want it. Like, and also, if SquareSoft ever decided to embark on this crazy journey and this epic, monumental task of remaking Final Fantasy VII the way you want to make it, it will bankrupt the company.
Yeah, exactly.
It will destroy SquareSoft to the core, where the people actually making the game will hate you. and there's a reason this game hasn't been remade, because I'm sure this happens all the time. I'm sure a new SquareSoft exec comes in and is like, what we should do? We should make Final Fantasy VII again. And they literally set that guy on fire because the game you want is impossible to make. And just take what you can get.
Thank you.
If you don't want to play the PC port, the way they talked it up was like, hey man, Final Fantasy VII changed a lot of changed the minds. There's a lot of people's. I was on vacation, so I'm reading Twitter. I'm like, people are getting really excited about Final Fantasy VII. I'm like, are they announcing her? And it made it seem like, and I'm like, no, they did not just announce her. Like that was, to me, that shows me like, oh my god, is SquareSoft like out of money? Is Square Enix just completely out of money that they need to make this crazy, like they need to take on this problem? It's a problem. And at some point, and then just seeing Twitter just lose its mind when they find out what the big reveal was, and it's like, it's the PC port, so you'll have trophies and stuff, and it's like $20, and it was watching people's brain. It was watching people have an aneurysm through Twitter.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
Which I thought was fan-fucking-tastic.
I gotta give a shout out to my boy Charles Singletary. He wrote an editorial about how pissed off he was at Square Enix. And the thing is, when I'm watching this, I saw the whole thing like live, and I'm like, this not gonna be what you people want, because if it was what we wanted, it would have been leaked, just like Street Fighter V was leaked. Something of that magnitude would have been leaked. The new
Assassin's Creed was leaked. Even after all this crazy shit going on, you think Ubisoft would be like, let's get a lockdown on all these documents? No, the new Assassin's Creed was leaked, and that's like 600 people working on that game. Like, you know what? Like, you're gonna tell me what? It's gonna be 20 guys working on this game in secret?
Yeah,
no, this is gonna be this is an Ubisoft level approach where it's like, no, we need millions of people working. We need thousands of teams working on this game across the country. Here's some assets. Like, we would have found out a while ago. It's just. It is a.
Just Happy would have broke the news.
Yeah, exactly. Just Happy would have found out. He would have got an anonymous email, or he would have hacked guys. I don't know. Like, he would matrix his way into finding that out. But it's just not. It's not a reality. I'm like, I'm sorry. Final Fantasy VII was a good game when I played it. God knows how many years ago. I replayed it a few years back, and I was like, this is a dumb fucking game. This game makes no fucking sense.
I wouldn't go that far, because I actually just played the game for the first time, like fully, like 3 years ago, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is fucking brilliant. I thought it was
dumb.
great. But you know what? I don't need it to have Final Fantasy 13 graphics. I don't. I like what I played. That's it. I'm happy with it.
I mean, there's some really weird like plot holes and just sort. There's a good 20 hours of that game where you just kind of don't know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I know. But the mechanics are just when it's old school.
Well, no, the mechanics are fine. I mean, like I don't have any issues with like the turn-based combat and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm good with this. I like building up my characters. I love the materia system. But there literally is a good 20 hours where you're going to like a resort for no reason, where Cloud kind of loses his memory, but then does.
It's charming.
It's stupid.
I'm not talking about nostalgia. I just thought it was cute.
No, it's not cute. It's a poorly written game, and that's okay, because when I played it, I enjoyed it. I was like, this is I put hundreds of hours into that game. And I'm just like, wow, like that blew my mind. Digging out like the secrets in and trying to like make a gold chocobo so you can get into the thing, so you can get Knights of the Round Summon, so you can take on the ruby and then with the mine. It's like, that's awesome, and like that gave me a level of compulsion I didn't know I could do in video games, which was perfect for that. But why the fuck are we talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake?
We started talking about GTA 5 and then we segued into
okay, because that's what you've been playing. Okay, wow.
Yeah, that's it. I'm done. George, this is all you, man.
Probably, yeah. Ryan, what are you playing? Let's save this, Ryan.
So on the site end of things, I finished playing Far Cry 4, and we just completely nosedive off this podcast. So, but anyway, I've been playing Far Cry 4 and NES Ultimate Remix, or Ultimate NES Remix on 3DS. So I'll have reviews of those probably going up within this week. And then Alien Isolation, as I talked about before. So yeah, that's it.
Fun. Currently, what I'm playing Loadout on the PS4 for review. That review should be up sometime shortly. I wrapped up The Crew, finally. I was telling Ryan, I did a nice long review for it, and then our content management system ate it.
Oh.
And I decided the one time I do a review without a backup, I'm like, I usually put it in Word and I copy-paste. I'm like, just do it here. And then what's the rush? I get it done in one go. It ate it, and it went from 1,300 words to 200. I'm like, that's weird. And I lost it forever, so I had to rewrite it. So my review came out even more angry at the game.
Yes.
I already didn't like the game, and the problem with the game, and I use this term aggressively mediocre, which is the worst kind of game to review. Because give me a bad game any day, because I can write for days about a bad game. A good game, a great game, I can write. Oh, that's even better. If it can give me a good game, that's beautiful. But a kind of game that's just so in the middle. That is the worst, because it's just some of the parts work. Just it's a lot of this works in theory. It's just not well, and I feel like The Crew is all of that. And the problem with The Crew is that there's a lot of cool ideas in there, but when the driving is no good, I just kind of don't care what else you have to offer me. When your main driving game, you need to be driving in a car, and that needs to feel good. And it's this whole idea of I appreciate the approach of crafting a car RPG, but in order for me to have a car that feels drivable, you have to invest so many hours of your time using kind of these boring, kind of grindy missions.
Yeah,
that is not that. I feel like The Crew should have been a free-to-play game. And and I get to that a little bit more in my review, but it feels like it should have been free to play with a lot of the approaches they take. The fact that you can buy Crew credits to buy upgrades for your car and stuff like that, it looked like maybe at some point someone thought this should be a free to play game. No, what are you high? No, make this a full price game, and then we'll call them shortcuts. That's the Ubisoft way. We'll call them shortcuts. You can do that in Assassin's Creed too. You can buy little boosters for your guy in Unity, where it's hey, you do 3 times as more damage when you turn on this booster for 45 seconds. It only costs you 10 assassin bucks that you can pay for $4.99, or you can spend 100 and we'll give you all the assassin coins. Or I'm like, that is fucking gross. If your game was free, fine, you can peddle that bullshit to me. But when I pay $60 for a game, don't have the audacity to be hey, would you like any shortcuts on this? No, your game should be good enough where I can play it on its own. That I shouldn't need help from you. I should give you more money to make this game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But instead of that, I started playing a lot of the Halo 5 beta, which is fun. I did a video earlier of I was in the preview for it, so I got to play beta a few weeks in advance, and I really dug it. I did a couple of videos for it, and then it is a good progression for Halo, and a Halo game that works. Okay, I'm on board for a Halo game that works this
fantastic
at the end of this year, because God damn it, I need a Halo game that works.
Someday we'll get there in the future.
It's fun to dream, Ryan. And you know what? That is it. We did a long one, but I wanted a good one, so I brought my a good guest, Tony Polanco.
Yay! End of the year, man. Got to give the people something awesome.
Exactly, and people want Tony. I did the Tony symbol, and I was surprised after the horrid start we had to this podcast with Tony admitting that he murders animals or something. I don't.
In the video games don't take it out of context.
It already feels like a distant memory, but I just remember it was like climbing out of a flaming car wreck only to go back into another car. It's like, no, you should not drive. But no, we did it, Tony. We managed. We talked about games all year. The good ones, the bad ones, and controversies and all that stuff, and all because of you, Tony. You brought the energy that needed at this late hour. It's 1 a.m. right now.
I'm always wired, man. You know me.
Yeah, I know when you are good to talk. But I feel like me and Tony should have our own like separate podcast about just anything entirely. Just like we should just call it Off Topic and just it'll be it, and we'll talk about that.
Hey George, remember when we were at PAX? I wake up and I'm like, all right, guys, this is always going. You're like, dude, you have too much energy.
Yeah, I'm like,
calm it down.
It's 9 a.m. I'm cramped in here like a sardine. Tony needs to shut the fuck up. I'm gonna murder you. Like
he was. George was also sleeping with me, so he was extra cranky. So
yeah, Ryan is the best person to sleep with. I slept with you too, Ryan.
Yeah.
No, only when he lets you be Big Spoon. Yeah. And again, Ryan, thank you for another fantastic year at my side, being the good straight man to my nonsense. Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. I hope for another fantastic year of podcasting and shouting and telling you not to talk about Smash Brothers.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Maybe my New Year's resolution will be to let Ryan talk about Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you, Tony? Any New Year's resolutions for next year?
Nah, I don't do that stuff.
No dumb gamer resolutions.
I don't do that stuff. The only resolution I just do in general is like, hey, make next year better than it was last year.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I mean, I'm keeping mine very simple. Is try to keep a smaller backlog of things. Like if I have a chance to play something new, I'm gonna go try it out. If I immediately don't like, I'm gonna dismiss it. That way I can get to the good stuff better. Because I feel like I just put everything in the back burner. But I need to find a better weaning process for my backlog.
Yeah, dude, I'm in the same boat.
It's getting big, man. It's always getting big. And these Steam sales don't help. Like, no, thank you.
I was talking to one friend. His backlog is 2 games. I'm like, I'm so envious of you right now. He was like, how many do you have? I'm like, I don't know, probably 60. I know for you PC guys, it's even worse. You know, with Steam, it's like. Like, I'm guessing you guys must reach at the point where you're just staring at your screen and indecision hits, just like, what do I play? And you don't play anything because you're just staring at billions and millions of games.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like why I like reviewing things, so at least I have something to play. Even if I don't want to play it, it's like, at least I have to play this, and at least gets it out of your way. But, no, because I think what ends up happening is just going back to, like, your old faithful. So some people it's like a shooter or a game like Diablo or Borderlands or, like, Destiny, maybe. Like, I feel like that's a lot of people's case, too. Like, they don't know what to play. It's like, oh, I guess I play Destiny. I know that's all about. But again, thank you guys so much for watching ShockCast episode 199. I'm thinking we're gonna take a break up until 200 because, like I said, I want to make that one special for you guys, and I'm working on getting some guests.
Yes.
I'm thinking of a couple in my head right now that I'm like that would be fantastic to have on for episode 200. Nice. And I think I'm gonna work with Ryan to give you a cute little video vignette.
Ooh,
fancy.
Maybe a video highlight of the ShockCast in 2014, which should be kind of neat. But me and Ryan will talk that a little, after the show, after we record a little bit. We'll get together, play some Smash, and figure out like. Again, thank you so much, guys out there. I was George Jimenez. No commercial this week for a T-shirt, but just go to our TeePublic site and buy shirts because that keeps us happy. That feeds the beast. All right. And thank you so much. Have a fantastic, safe New Year. Hope you got everything you wanted for Christmas. And we look forward to entertaining you. Well, I'm going to keep saying things, and if you're entertained by the words I say, then God bless you. But we're going to keep trying to do this next year. And like I said, we are looking forward to episode 200. And again, joined by Tony Polanco from the Coalition. You should check out his stuff. He has opinions. Some of them are okay. Others are just batshit crazy.
But I will never bore you, people. I'll promise you that.
He will never bore you. He will frighten you most times, but he will never bore you. Thank you so much, Tony, for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, dude. Always, man. It's fucking awesome. Thank you.
And again, Ryan, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You guys are the wind beneath my wings. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year. Take care, guys. Love you. Peace. And go to DualShockers. You should probably check out that site. We've got stuff there. I don't know.
Yeah.
We break stories. 1080p.